This is 7-5 Radio with Walter Yerkew and Peter Scoop Stanton. This is the radio show that will break your neck, if your neck needs breaking. And here are the hosts of 7-5 Radio, Walter Yerkew, star of the biggest documentary movie ever made, The 7-5, and Peter Scoop Stanton, who starred in To Catch a Predator.
How many more times treat me the way you want to do?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, one and all. This is Peter Scoop Stanton with Walter Yerkew and Mike Regbrandt. We are red hot and rolling this 7th of March 2026. Check us out at 75radio.org. That is 75radio.org. Let's go around the room and say hello. First of all, Mike, how are we doing tonight, sir?
Doing good, boss. Doing good, thank you.
Outstanding. You had a serious case of explosive diarrhea earlier this week, and we were worried about you. But glad to know that you're back. Also, Walter Yerkew is with us. Now, I was worried about Walter. He might have had the same fate as Mike, but it turns out he was just screening his phone calls. Walter, how are we doing tonight, my friend?
He chased me around like a lost cat, trying to find out where I was, what I was doing, who I was with, where I took a dump, everything. You just want to know everything. But I'm doing okay.
Outstanding. I just want to make sure that you're okay, because Mike had that serious case of explosive diarrhea, and with you not picking up your phone, I'm like, oh my God, it happened to Walter too? There's something going around? Anyways, we want to say hello to all of our special listeners, including New York's finest, New York's bravest, New York's boldest, New York's strongest, those living on Long Island in the 2nd Congressional District, as well as all members of ICE and U.S. Border Patrol, and little Billy Keebler and the men and alleged woman of the Yanadasas, New York Fire Department, also known as the Cellar Savers. As always, we want to remember the men and women of the law enforcement community who are murdered in the line of duty tonight. Fortunately, we have no names to read off. Be safe, one and all. Our first story tonight is a glorious story. Disappointing Dan Crenshaw has been defeated in the Republican primary for the 2nd District of Texas. To me, I say good, because Dan Crenshaw is everything that we don't want. Here you have a member of the elite U.S. Navy SEALs who lost half his vision in service to his country. You know, this is almost like another version of Mr. Smith goes to Washington, but he has been an absolute disappointment. America first, he is America's last. He wants to send our boys to every blank hole country in the U.S. He also does very well in insider trading on stocks. He's number 13 out of 535 people. He has a higher return on investment than Warren Buffett. Interesting. Also, he wants to kill American journalists. He was caught on a hot mic moment saying he wants to kill Tucker Carlson. And then he went after a little girl when she called him out when he said something weird about Jesus, and he bullied this girl in a fundraising event. And then he went after fellow SEAL Sean Ryan. Now, Ryan just called out members of Congress who did get rich while in office, including Dan Crenshaw. Now, Crenshaw says he's worth about maybe $50,000, $60,000 on investment, but facts say otherwise. So Big Bad Dan came out, and first he sent his lawyers after Sean Ryan, and Ryan's lawyer sent a blistering rebuttal. And then Crenshaw sent a message on Instagram messaging saying, "Oh, my boys on 6 know about you, this, that, and the other thing." Like saying, "Oh, I got friends on the SEAL Team 6 who might want to pay you a visit," which is just that's a childish nonsense. Especially coming from a former Navy SEAL. And also, Mr. Crenshaw, he was supposed to go on the Sean Ryan podcast, and then back. And then I tell you, So,
Go ahead, Mike. You're our expert in the field in Texas. This guy, Dan Crenshaw.
Dan Crenshaw. Yeah, he's disappointing. Is right. The guy's a mess. He's like everything that politics is hated for. He professes one thing, runs on one platform, and then as soon as he gets there, it's the complete opposite. You know, he's beholden to his donors and not his constituents. He doesn't do anything at all for the American people, but only for himself or for whoever's paying him at the time. You know, he's a hot mess. He's exactly what you hate about politics. Exactly what you hate about politics, and it's a shame because he came from the SEALs. I mean, it's one of the most elite organizations in the world. You know, these guys are absolutely motivated on a level most people will never even begin to understand, and he just throws it away on greed and nonsense. He's a disgrace.
Yeah, you know, I agree with you. I've read a lot about Mr. Crenshaw, and just stood in the sidelines and just watch him. You know, it's like anything else that goes wrong in either party. You stand on the sidelines long enough, and you just watch, and they just hand themselves the rope, and they give each other the rope to hang themselves. You know, we see that in Crenshaw. We've seen that in Jasmine Crockett. You know, we've seen that in many congressional districts. And seeing Crenshaw, fold, like a bad suit. It was inevitable.
Yeah, he's just really disappointing, really a disgrace. I mean, he's like the majority of them. You know, that's what you see with a lot of them up there. They get there, and that's exactly what happens. They turn right around and, they screw everybody in the country and enrich themselves.
And that other Texas idiot that I mentioned, Jasmine Crockett. When she got when she was elected to represent in Texas, she was all prim and proper and thankful and wonderful, and didn't turn into. She always was, a hood rat. So you just stand on the sidelines long enough, you just watch these people hang themselves. There's no assistance needed. No assistance needed whatsoever.
Right. She's a mess.
Well, Crenshaw used his history as a SEAL, and she used her history as a young black female. So they try to bank on what they used to be, and they turn into what they want to be, what they really are, and it's a shame. We've seen that all the way up to the president's podium. Not the current president, but we've seen that in presidents. They start out real nice and then just turn into sexual fiends, getting oral sex in the Oval Office and stuff. So the politics is like being a childhood celebrity. A lot of childhood celebrities don't get into adulthood as being a celebrity, and they just fail for whatever reasons. They get typecast. And adios, Mr. Crenshaw.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm back. I had to change the hamster for the internet connection. It's real janky out here. But here, here's the thing about Crenshaw. First and foremost, I will always consider myself a member of the U.S. Navy. I carry my expired ID in my. I consider myself a member of the U.S. Navy, even though my ID expired 20 years ago. And Mike, you can back me up on this or not, but once a member of the service, you're always a member of the service, be it the U.S. Navy, NYPD, FDNY, or whatever organization you work for. But here you have a guy who went from sailor to congressman, and it's like he turned in his trident and his anchors. He's like, no, I'm not going to be part of that group. I'm going to be part of this corrupt organization. And to me, that's the worst part. Now, the three of us, we exited the New York City Police Department earlier than we should. or maybe right on time. But we always consider ourselves members of the service, number one. That's why if you listen to us, we're not going to sit here and talk about every time a cop screws up, because guess what? We still consider ourselves members of that service. And if we were given the chance to come back and do what we did without all the BS that goes on now at Police Plaza, we probably would. But anyways, we'll come back. We'll talk about a mother that Bruce Springsteen did not write a song about. Also, we'll talk about the podcast universe, and we had a grand opening and a grand closing. Stay tuned, everybody. This is 7.5 Radio on Liberty News Radio Network.
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an Immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
Scott Bradley here. Most Americans are painfully aware that the nation is on the wrong track and in dire straits. Unfortunately, most political pundits only nibble around the edges when they claim to address the issues. Even worse, many of the so-called solutions are simply rewarmed servings of what got us into the mess we currently face. And the politicians think we're so gullible and naive that we'll buy their lies that they have reformed and now understand where they led us astray. Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is that they simply wish to continue to hold power. The solution to America's challenges is found in returning to the timeless principles found in the United States Constitution. My book and lecture series will reawaken in Americans an understanding and love of the principles which made this nation the freest, most prosperous, happiest, and most respected nation on earth. Visit topreservethenation.com and order my book and lectures to begin the restoration of this great nation.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
You're back, and Scoop is just getting done staring at Danila's Instagram account. Here's more 7.5 Radio.
All right, I am back. We are all back. I'm on the phone because my janky internet connection, janky T-Mobile, has been janky all day. Anyways, we go from Dan Crenshaw to another mother who was killed. Now, this mother was not Renee Good. This mother wasn't chasing ICE or interfering with law enforcement. This mother was simply waiting for a bus. Stephanie Minter, 41-year-old mother from Fredericksburg, Virginia, was stabbed to death at a bus stop by illegal immigrants in Fairfax, Virginia. This piece of garbage had over 30 arrests. The Fairfax County Police Department actually contacted the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, or the District Attorney here in Virginia, to state that to have this guy, Abdul Jallo, remain in jail. Fairfax County Police said, keep this guy in jail. He is a menace to society. Did the Commonwealth Attorney's Office listen? Of course not. And now Ms. Minter is no longer with us. And the local media said absolutely nothing. They're too busy bashing Trump, talking about the Iran war, talking about Epstein, how gossip, promoting a program on the station, or having people subscribe on their online newspapers. And Bruce Springsteen is nowhere to be found. We haven't heard a song for Stephanie. And so, Mrs. Stephanie's will just be forgotten sooner than later. But all she was doing was just waiting for a bus. and nobody came out to protest. Nobody's screaming at the Fairfax County Police to lock this guy up. Nobody's screaming at the Fairfax County Sheriff to keep him in jail because Fairfax County Sheriff refuses to work with ICE. The sheriff, who's about a 4'5" female, said that, hey, we're not going to hold people for ICE. They need to bring in paperwork if they want to take them out of my jail. So that's what we're dealing with. And of course, these people affected by Abdul Jalal, who shouldn't be here in the first place, they live far away from these people. And y'all know my situation for the past 3.5 years. I lived amongst these people. And these are not the brightest and the best coming from foreign nations. Mike, I'll bring it to you. What's your thought on Stephanie just waiting for a bus and she's murdered by an absolute piece of garbage and nobody's coming to her rescue?
Well, I mean, it's unfortunately one now in a very long line of people that have been murdered in the last few years that didn't have to be, shouldn't have been, had we been enforcing the laws that were in place to begin with. Had the border been secure, had we been actually vetting people and doing our due diligence that we were supposed to be doing, so many people wouldn't have been murdered so brutally over the last few years. It's a shame. It's an awful, terrible thing that should never have happened, but because of bad policy and virtue signaling retards, here we are. You know, people are paying the price, a very real price for it. You know, not just, unfortunately, she's gone. She's passed through the veil, right? But, you know, her family has to carry that burden the rest of their lives. Her children have to carry that burden the rest of their lives. You know, and some politicians somewhere will offer platitudes at best, if they even offer that much. It's disgusting. It's an absolute disgusting failure of their responsibility to the people they were elected to represent. That's really what it is. It should be criminal, honestly, what they've done. It should be criminal. They should be criminally charged for every single one of these deaths because they were so unbelievably preventable and just disgusting. You can't import, you know, third world savagery and expect them to act like first world citizens. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. You know, these people don't live like that. They don't grow up like that. They don't even understand that. So you bring them and you expect them to behave in a certain way. That's not going to happen. They're not going to assimilate. They're not going to start to all of a sudden decide that now they're, you know, going to speak eloquently and act, you know, civilly. No, they're going to act just like they did wherever they came from. There's a reason their countries were shitholes. You understand? It's them. If they want to they want a better life, then okay, start where you are, lift where you stand, get your country back on track, and then maybe we could actually talk about, you know, immigration and things like that. But until that happens, no, absolutely not, absolutely not. You know, it's enough. It's absolutely enough.
Right. Now, Walter, Stephanie Minter was a middle-aged white lady, and her killer, Abdul Jallo, was a dark-skinned black man from Sierra Leone. Do you think if the races were reversed, there'd be more outrage or more news coverage on this incident?
Oh, sure, absolutely. You know, if this lady killed this foreigner, illegal immigrant, you know, the left be jumping up and down. Oh, she never gave him a chance to live in the United States. She never gave him a chance to live, you know, with our Constitution. Yeah, it would have been all over. It would have been, you know, it would have been a mess. And of course, you know, that would have fit their narrative. You know, the other way around doesn't. Like I said, you know, the boss, he calls himself Springsteen, nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Even media isn't seeking him out to get his opinion on this real murder. And you know, just minding her own business. If Miss Good was minding her own business and was murdered, you know, again, it wouldn't have been as big a story as it was. But she interfered and ICE killed her. Now this guy, illegal immigrant, kills this lady just waiting for a bus. Just waiting for a bus. She wasn't interfering with anybody. She wasn't bothering with anybody. And it's a shame that the celebrities, you know, most celebrities these days are sticking their nose in it. You know, Elvis Presley, 50 plus years ago, was asked about political and politics, and he said, "Ma'am, I'm just an entertainer. You know, I have my own opinions. You know, and that's the way it still should be. And you know, entertain, hold benefits if you want to hold benefits for people, but you know, to throw it out there and then you know, well, he looked like a fool before he wrote the song. Now he, you know, really looks like a fool. You know, with this latest unfortunate murder, and it happens every day. You know, it happens every day. People get murdered in our country every day. People get murdered. But you know, for you know, a few more moments of airtime, you know, on the radio, just to you know, trash Mr. Trump, you know, and the Republican Party or the conservative people in our country it's just disgusting. You know, it's just nothing but fodder. You know, and my thing would be that there's sponsors out there that support these stations and journalists. You know, it's more far-reaching than just the song. The sponsors, they reach, and people say, oh, well, I'm going to buy this product because they supported, you know, Bruce Springsteen. You know, we've got to stop this nonsense. We've got to stop this rhetoric nonsense. Because it's getting people killed. Our lawmakers, our legislators, and our law enforcement are afraid to pick people off the street or keep them in jail because they're afraid they're going to be called racist or they're not going to get elected next time around. You know, it's you know, no longer the America we once knew. We're trying to build it back, and you know, we meet so much resistance. It's a horrible thing to have to fight every day, day in and day out, when they just spew and spit rhetoric about the people that are really trying to do the job.
Right. Couldn't say any better myself. Another thing I noticed that these people that the politicians, the Commonwealth Attorney, the sheriff, her name is Stacey Kincaid, that they have these idiotic policies. They're not affected by them because they don't live near these people. And people like me do live near these people, and I can't tell you the number of times I go to a supermarket. These people they don't want to pay for the Coronas or Modelo's. They walk right on out, or they're selling food stamps, or they're passed out drunk in the on the shoulder on the side of a road. And then in Herndon, Virginia, which is in Fairfax County, they got a northern chapter of MS-13, and again, the sheriff has the power to turn these people over to ICE, but she refuses to do so. And then in terms of the celebrities, you got people like Bruce Springsteen. They got they got their mansions all over the country, New Jersey and Beverly Hills. But guess what? They're surrounded by a fence, so they don't want people coming in that are uninvited, or they have security to keep these people out of their property. So of course, just you know, rules for the not for me. And then you talk about immigrants. You have Irina Zarutska, a Ukrainian immigrant coming in down in Charlotte. She was murdered by an American citizen. No Bruce Springsteen song for her. No protest for her. Nobody demanding justice for Irina. And she was an immigrant, but she was a white immigrant. And the person that did the crime was a big black stud. Anybody got anything they want to add before we go to our next commercial break?
There's a common denominator in all this, and everybody knows what it is.
Right. We'll talk. Right. We'll talk about it towards the end of this hour. But we come up after the break. We'll talk about the podcast universe, and it's us against all them, and we're much better. Stay tuned, everybody. This is 7.5 Radio on Liberty News Radio Network. Take it away, boys.
Proclaiming liberty across the land. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Mary Rose. The UK military is rejecting criticism of its response after last week's strikes by Israel and the U.S.
Britain's Chief of Defence Air Chief Marshal Sir Richard Knighton reject criticism that they were ill-prepared for the conflict in Iran.
Well, what the Prime Minister and the Defence Secretary have made clear, and what's very clear to me, is that this is probably the most dangerous time of the last 30-odd years that I've been in uniform. And it's very clear that the demands on defence are rising, and that's why I think the Prime Minister said in his Munich Security Conference speech that we needed to spend more on defence and do it faster, and you won't be surprised that I agree wholeheartedly with what the Prime Minister said.
He also said that the UK could join more proactive strikes in the future, while the focus remains on protecting British interests and personnel. Rika Ann Garcia, London.
The opening days of March have delivered some major news and political developments.
In like a lion, out like a lamb refers to stormy weather at the beginning of March. For President Trump, the first week of March was like a lion politically. Over the past few days, he launched a war against Iran, which led to a spike in oil prices. He fired controversial Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and he received a Labor Department report that saw the economy lose tens of thousands of jobs in February. The flurry of activity came as the president tries to convince voters to keep Republicans in the majority in Congress. Greg Clugston, Washington.
President Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff has revealed that Iranian negotiators boasted about stockpiling enough highly enriched uranium to produce 11 nuclear bombs during the first pre-strike meeting. And stranded Americans across the Middle East say they've been left to navigate flight cancellations and confusing government guidance on their own. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, launching a new project, or just looking for that extra edge, your brain is your most valuable asset. Now there's a way to support it every single day. Think Factor. From the makers of Relief Factor, Think Factor is built to help you stay sharp, nurture your memory, boost your attention. It unlocks the mental clarity and precision you need to stay ahead of the game, no matter the challenge. After a couple of weeks of taking Think Factor, I noticed a dramatic difference in my clarity, my focus, even my memory. And look, the longer you take Think Factor, the better it works. This is not a one-off. You want to take Think Factor regularly. If you're a go-getter who refuses to settle, Think Factor can help you perform at your best and keep your edge. Call 800-4-RELIEF. That's 800-4-RELIEF, or just visit ReliefFactor.com to order Think Factor. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF. Your first bottle is just $19.95. Think Factor. Think clearer, perform better daily with Think Factor.
Why don't we say to the government writ large that they have to spend a little bit less? Anybody ever had less money this year than you had last? Anybody ever having a 1% pay cut? You deal with it. That's what government needs, a 1% pay cut. If you take a 1% pay cut across the board, you have more than enough money to actually pay for the disaster relief. But nobody's going to do that because they're fiscally irresponsible. Who are they? Republicans. Who are they? Democrats. Who are they? Virtually the whole body is careless and reckless with your money. So the money will not be offset by cuts anywhere. The money will be added to the debt, and there will be a day of reckoning. What's the day of reckoning? The day of reckoning may well be the collapse of the stock market. The day of reckoning may be the collapse of the dollar. When it comes, I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you it has happened repeatedly in history when countries ruin their currency.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep, and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At CSPOA.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever.
Wow, you're still listening? Here's more 7-5 Radio.
And we are back. Scoop Stanton, Walter Yerkew, and Mike Raybrand live on 7-5 Radio. I am doing a show at the 7-5 Radio DC studios, and the second hamster died. Foxtrot uniform goes to T-Mobile for just crappy internet service today. But our next story is a long one, and this is about the podcast universe. Now, 7-5 Radio is also in the podcast universe. We are on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, all major podcast forums, because it's the old adage from the movie Moneyball, adapt or die. We realize that Dad's not sitting in the garage with the GE transistor radio drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon listening to us, but he should be. But I've noticed a lot of things going on with the podcast universe, and there's a major difference between us and them. Like, first of all, you got everybody has a podcast. You go to a Best Buy and get a podcast in the box, hook it up to your Commodore 64, and you are in business. Secondly, since everybody's got a podcast, they need content and they want clicks and outdo everybody else, so they will say and do just about anything and post the most outlandish headline and outlandish pictures. So as you're scrolling along, YouTube, Rumble, you stop and say, "What is that?" Now on our website, we got a picture of a podcast from a gentleman. Apparently, he was in a special operations group in the military, and you got a picture of Candace Owens and a picture of Dan Bongino, and Dan Bongino is in drag wearing a rainbow shirt. And the headline is Candace versus Bongina. So it's clickbait. So this guy's going to talk about Dan Bongino and trash Dan Bongino. Which brings me to my next point. The podcast universe has become nothing but a high school cafeteria. Everybody is talking trash about everybody else. Candace Owens is trashing Erica Kirk. Dan Bongino is trashing Candace Owens. Owen Schroyer's trashing Dan Bongino. Alex Jones is trashing Owen Schroyer. And everyone is trashing Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, which is 100% justified. And those not getting trashed is trashing everybody else, believing that trashing the people I just mentioned will get them more clicks on the platform. And I said that clickbait, B-A-I-T, has become clickbait, B-A-T-E, where these podcasters get off on putting this crazy outlandish stuff just on the front. So you click on, it's like, what's this all about? And it's a big nothing burger. So we went from clickbait to clickbait, something that people do. And then a lot of these podcasters have Patreon accounts because the podcast universe is literally nickel and diming. You get nickels and dimes based on how many clicks you get by the podcast servers. But with that all being said, you know who's not posting content with outlandish headlines and pictures? Do you know who's not sitting at the cafeteria table in high school talking smack about everybody else? You know who does not have a Patreon account or sit there with a hat in the hand? Us, 7-5 Radio. Why? Because we are definitely better than that. We don't need to and don't want to go after other personalities except Bill Keeler from WIBX. Why? Because Bill Keeler tried to make his career on a hero firefighter on a non-story. Bill Keeler started in the 135th biggest market. He is still in the 135th biggest market. But why don't we go after these people and do this other foolishness? Because first of all, we only have 54 minutes a week to get our information out there. And we're too busy finding out the real reason why Donald Trump's second inauguration was in the Capitol building instead of outside. We're too busy analyzing what really happened when Renee Good and Alex Preddy, FO and FA. We're too busy looking at everything in Minnesota and determine the protests were organized and funded before Cam Hagby and James O'Keefe came out with their findings. And we did this just by reading and watching. Also, we're doing shows live at CPAC and trucker protests. We're finding out why John Brennan should be in jail. too busy crying for the people of Los Angeles as the city burned, and we're too busy listening to Gary Byrne tell us in great length and detail the absolute failures of the U.S. Secret Service in Butler, Pennsylvania. We're too busy to research the news while others are just talking trash. So anyways, that's us in a nutshell, and I'm very proud of our product, very proud of what we do. And the only clickbait we have is a picture of Danila Rodrigues. Now, I could have put a very tantalizing and salacious picture of Ms. Rodrigues, but I choose not to because she has plenty of pictures, looks great in anything. She can wear a painter's coveralls and still look amazing. But here's the thing, Danila is a part of 7.5 Radio. She is a personality here on 7.5 Radio and works behind the scenes with 7.5 Radio and keeps me in line so I can do a great job here on 7.5 Radio. So anyways, I want to thank Walter and Mike for everything that they do. I want to encourage everybody to continue to listen to 7.5 Radio and don't listen to the other people, because here's another thing. They're the competition. I'd rather have your eyes and ears on 7.5 Radio than them. But we're not going to sit there and talk trash about Candace Owens and say Charlie Kirk was murdered by the gay mafia and the Mossad and all those other fools. So that's just crap. But that's just clickbait. But we don't do that. Anyways, with that being said, I'll turn over to Walter with his opinion on us versus the podcast universe.
Who, me? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was looking for anal gland medicine for my dog. We were talking about podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of podcasts. As a matter of fact, I'm not a small fan of podcasts. I'm not really a fan much of podcasts. I'll watch excerpts and such. I'll watch the highlights, but I don't want to sit and watch or listen to to people talking to each other about the same thing and kissing each other's ass about saying the same thing and believing in the same thing. I would rather see more of a confrontational podcast kind of thing. I like the idea of, asking questions, kind of like watching a congressional hearing. That's what I like. You got somebody asking questions and you got somebody giving stupid answers. You got somebody giving stupid answers, and you got somebody asking questions. I like to see what people can handle that is they don't want to talk about, since they all say they know so much about it. Which of course, you turn on a congressional hearing, nobody ever says a word. What was it, just this week? You had Tampon Tim, on the hot seat. And I can't remember the lady's name from, I guess she was from South Carolina. I can't remember her name. Asking him, if he was prepared. He said he was. And she says, well, how much was spent on autism in 2017? He said, well, I wasn't governor then. I wouldn't know the numbers. She says, okay, were you governor in 2024? And he said, yes, I was. And she said, well, what was spent? He says, well, I don't have those numbers in front of me. You see, they put these people up in front and they never say a word. So that's the kind of stuff I like to watch people make fools of themselves, not, give themselves, medals on the chest or slaps on the back or taps on the ass. So, podcast is something that needs to be more like what we do. We do our homework. There are times we do things off the cuff, but it's with good common sense. Not with the normal common sense that comes from a podcast point of view. Just my opinion.
Right. And here's another thing about us is like none of this is rehearsed. We don't. I'll say we'll talk about podcasts. We'll talk about Dan Crenshaw. We'll talk about the lady that got murdered in Fairfax County, and that's it. And then I don't know what you're going to say. I don't want to know what you're going to say. Like when we talked about the invasion of Iran, both of you guys explained why it was it was needed, and I explained why I don't think it was needed, and it was a great interaction with both of you guys. And also, you guys are very jealous of me and saying I go to nursing homes and whatnot. But anyways, Mike, what's your opinion? You are the host of the Dirt Road podcast. Am I on mark or I'm off?
No, you're right on the money. You're over the target, 100%. Listen, that whole space is jammed, full of nonsense and just completely ridiculous rhetoric and people saying defamatory things. It's awful.
Right, just for the clicks. Anyways, we come back, we'll have a political endorsement, and we might have a grand opening and a grand closing. Stay tuned, everybody.
This is a battle between truth and deceit, a battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness, and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began. Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
This is 7.5 Radio with Walter Yuku. Walter Yurkow. Walter Kiwi. Here's Walton Scoop.
And we are back. And during this very important commercials, I was doing my due diligence and looking at the Instagram account of one Danila Rodrigues. Follow her at DanilaRodrigues.model. That's DanilaRodrigues.model. I was looking for this week's archives photo, and it's getting harder and harder. Oof. Anyway, so our next story is called Grand Opening, Grand Closing. That was a quote from Chris Rock comedy routine from about 3 decades ago. Bring the Noise. It's absolutely hysterical and absolutely right on point. 30 years later, nothing has changed. Last Sunday in Long Beach, California, there was a shooting near a restaurant grand opening called Marathon Burger. Marathon Burger is a burger chain with the family of rapper Nipsey Hussle and also Snoop Dogg. So you had a bunch of celebrities there, the media, young people there. Stevie Wonder was there. And somebody pulled out their weapon and started going to work. And you had 1 dead, 2 injured, half a block from this brand new business started by the family of a rapper who promoted peace, harmony, unity, hard work, self-reliance, so on and so forth. So, anyways, this is the publicity no business in America or on planet Earth wants to have. Now, granted, Nipsey was a former Crip, and Snoop Dogg was or is currently a member of the Crips. But whether Crips or no Crips, half a block from an opening, tons of people, a business, a hamburger stand, opening of a hamburger stand, somebody has an open fire. And what gets me is that there's no, whenever Jimmy Buffett opened a Margaritaville or a Cheeseburger in Paradise restaurant, nobody popping shots over there. But here you have a burger in a Long Beach, California, which is infamous for violence, infamous for a large amount of black people living over there. They have one dead at a opening of a burger stand. Well, what say you? What's going on? Why is there a murder at a hamburger stand?
People get involved in the stupidest disputes, and they're figuring there's only one way to settle, and they pull out a gun. Many times over the years, we've all heard, we used to solve things with our fists. Now they got guns. And do that, at a public place, in a hamburger stand, you're going to wipe somebody's life away. California is a crap hole anyway. Unfortunately, when people see what's happening in one crap hole, they want to do it in their own crap hole. And it's like a cancer. It spreads all over our country. It spreads all over the world. That these murders, nonsensical killings, these ridiculous actions, by people just because they don't want to look bad because they felt like they were dissed, as we used to say in the 80s. They got dissed. That's why they took a life. The Crips and the Bloods and the MS-13s and all these nonsensical street gangs, when they all turn 35 or 40, they denounce what they used to be when they were in their early teens and 20s, and God knows what they did back in the day. So these horrible things, or maybe the guy just didn't like the burger joint.
Right. Mike, what say you? You handled a number of murders in the city of New York. Why is this still going on in the same communities? We heard for how many years now that increase the peace and Black Lives Matter and put the guns down. Mike, what say you? What's going on?
I mean, it's the breakdown of family, right? When you break down the traditional family structure, you take the father out of the home, they're going to look for that support somewhere, right? That family support, that structure, that kind of leadership somewhere. And so when you break down the family structure, what you do is you make it much more likely to have that gang structure replace it. And that's exactly what you see as a result of that. Decades of the family being broken down in those communities and gangs being, the replacement. And this is what comes of that, is the violence and all the insanity that goes with it. And then these men, they spend a good amount of their lives incarcerated or just in violent situations or just extreme situations, and eventually they get it, right? So 35, 40, they wake up and realize, oh God, look what I did. I made things worse, or I was part of the problem, whatever. But it's too late, because you're not going to reach those kids at 16, 17 now. They've already been, primed for exactly what they're doing. And it's just the same cycle over and over again.
Right. And you bring up an excellent point. That's the number one problem, is the lack of fathers. And Larry Elder has been saying it for decades, and he's been called everything, Uncle Tom, coon, sellout, but wrong. And then our brother, Sean Bergen, said it, and he lost his job. Meanwhile, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, they never said it. And what they did, they went down and shook down companies on fake claims of racism, and they got rich. And they moved the hell out of the hood. But anyways, if we just had, in my opinion, if we just had fathers in these communities, things would be a lot better. Anybody have anything else before we move to our final story real quick? Go once.
Yeah, we don't know. You want to talk about Mike's explosion? Go ahead.
All right. Recently, we got some very troubling news. Mike Ray Brandt became sick. explosive diarrhea, and of course it became a 7-5 radio event. First off, it was an explosive diarrhea. I borrowed that from Jim Lancia, and then I got all nervous, so I took the text they sent me and Walter, and I sent it to everybody, including Charlie LaDuff. LaDuff wished me a speedy recovery, and I said, "Oh crap, I forgot to mention it is Mike." And it's like, hey, it's about Mike, not me. And he got mad at me because LaDuff says, I was actually thinking about and praying for you. I was like, oh man, it felt terrible. And then Walter said, Mike, you get well faster. It has to be nice to me. And Mike said that will never happen. And then, of course, the only normal person in all this is, of course, Danila. She actually reached out and wished Mike a speedy recovery. But and then I mentioned to Mike, I said, Mike, that's what you get for smoking too much raccoon poop. So, anyways, Mike has a near-death experience, and we just make it a radio bit. Mike, how are we feeling today?
Good. Recuperating well. Sore and tired, but not bad. Doing good. Still here, so that's a big plus.
Right. And then I tried to get a hold of Walter to talk about the show yesterday and today. I'm getting nervous. I'm like, oh my God, did Walter have explosive diarrhea? And I said, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just screening my phone call. So I guess Walter didn't want me checking up on him, making sure he's okay. But anyways, Mike, we're glad that you're doing much better. Because you are obviously a vital part of 7-5 Radio, and every show we've been doing so far this year, 3 months in, has been absolute gangbusters. I mean, we got good shows, we got not so good shows, we got epic shows, and every single show this month has been epic. So, anyways, but please, Mike, please make sure you take care of yourself. Go see your doctor. Stop eating so much greasy food, so you have the explosive diarrhea. Well, you got any words of wisdom for Mike?
Just follow doctor's orders and only do what feels good.
Feels good. Well, it's raccoon. Well, he feels good smoking raccoon poop. Look where I got him.
And you feel that might have been the X-ray room in the nursing home.
Actually, really, nursing home. Right. So, Walter, you were violently ill last year with God knows what. Last year I broke my hip, and this year Mike had his issue. So let's hope Danila stays healthy and well for the next couple of decades. Good grief! So now since Mike had his episode, who's going to drop first? Which one was going to drop first?
I'm guessing it's going to be Scoop.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
I think he's going to go out and
stand up. Some old man's going to stand up from his wheelchair and knock you flat for messing with his girl.
That's it.
Is that going to be like
in the old age home?
Make you a race.
Nice. I'm not going to die of old age or rescuing a kid from getting hit by a bus.
No, maybe a big girl's going to roll over on you and crush you or something simple like that. Yeah.
How we go from making fun of Mike and isn't it?
Yeah, but I predict you will die in a comprising situation, some type of odd situation. You'll be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you'll be dead.
Outstanding. On that note, this is Peter Scoop Stanton for Walter Yerkew and Mike Raybrandt. Remind you can make a difference. Go out and make it, and don't die.
James Edwards for 7-5 Radio. For those who work the streets and the jails, thanks for keeping us safe. So long, everybody.